Here's Haynes, senior NBA insider, soon to launch Haynes Briefs YouTube show. Haynes Briefs. How about a round of applause for that? For Haynes. I like that. Haynes Briefs. Haynes Briefs. Haynes Briefs.
Talking about the Haynes report.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, man. Of course. I remember that shit.
Welcome to another episode of Haynes Briefs, the YouTube show here. And I want to thank everyone so far who has been commenting, who has been sharing, even those who have us on instant notification. I please encourage you to do so. You know, get notified when I drop new episodes. And today, you're in for a special treat. Los Angeles Clippers star James Harden. I have him on. And so, again, encourage y'all. Please go out there, comment, share, subscribe. And also, I'm in the experimental phase right now. So I'm doing little things. I'm trying to see what's going to work, what's going to stick. So please comment with some input, with feedback. You know, I'm very receptive of it, and I'm replying to most comments. So, I want to make Haynes Briefs into being a little NBA community. And, story time. So as of right now, when I do these interviews, these long extended interviews, I'm dropping a story time at the end, but I'll also drop story time isolated into another post here on my Haynes Briefs YouTube. So do you guys like that format? Should I do story time by itself on a different link? So let me know what you guys think. And I'm definitely receptive. So last night, Friday night, Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Clippers, I was there. It was a really good game. Came down to the wire. DeMar DeRozan had a chance to win the game. At the end, a few seconds left in the game, didn't get a quality look off. Clippers won. James Harden came off with a triple-double, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He came up big in that game. But James Harden has been coming up big all season long. And just to, let's just talk about what James Harden has done before we get into this interview. I was able to get James Harden exclusively one-on-one after last night's game in the locker room. But before I get into that, I want to set things up for him. So James averaging 22.6 per game this season. That is his highest scoring average in 4 years, averaging 5.8 rebounds, 8.7 assists, which puts him fourth in the league. And the Clippers are in the fifth place. They're in fifth place in the Western Conference standing, the loaded Western Conference standings. And they have an opportunity to even move up to fourth place, depending on what happens in the Denver-Houston game on Sunday. So this is Saturday right now, April 12th, and there are no games scheduled today. So Sunday is going to be a big day where we could see some movement, see some shaking. But James Harden has only missed 3 games this season. Remember when James Harden was injury-riddled and, he wasn't playing up to his standards, and most people thought he was done. Thought he was done from being an elite NBA All-Star guard. He's been playing tremendous ball. He's been the most consistent player. Norman Powell's had an incredible season, but James Harden runs the show there. He's the player who gets everybody involved. He's very selective and knowing when to get his own shot, when to set teammates up. I mean, the connection he has with Zubac, man, that pick and roll connection right there is probably number 1 in the league. So he's doing a really good, phenomenal job right here. So I was able to get in touch with him because, I want to do a bit of just an assessment of this season and just the journey that he's been through over the last 4 or 5 years with, people were calling him out of shape. His conditioning wasn't up to a point that he didn't take his NBA career seriously. So these were topics in which I was able to bring forth to James Harden after the last night's win over the Sacramento Kings. So part 1, I'm going to break this thing down. So the first question I asked James was basically about, did he feel underappreciated during this time? Even this season, did he feel underappreciated? And, when people were taking shots at him, did this motivate him to having this type of a season? This is what he said.
It was the injuries that really held me back. I still had okay numbers, but it wasn't the numbers that people expected from James Harden. So for me, it was just making sure I was, healthy, and which last year for the most part I was, and then now having the freedom to kind of, have the ball in my hands and play, with the basketball as a point guard. I knew this was going to happen. So, and then we're in a 7-game win streak. Just feeling like I was supposed to. I've been able to play. I think I only missed 3 games so far this year. So just being able to play healthy and free and like I know how.
So being healthy and being able to have the ball in your hands to make plays, to be the leader, that's definitely something that is attributed to James Harden and why he's having so much success this season. But you got to give him credit for staying the course and sticking it out. So my next question was along the lines of his work ethic over, I guess, the course of, I would say, probably the last 4 or 5 years of his career. His work ethic has been questioned by folks. People talking about he's not taking his conditioning right. And so I spoke to members of his teammates, and I'm not going to mention the teammates, but I spoke to his teammates currently, a few of his teammates currently, and I spoke to teammates that he played with in Brooklyn and that he played with in Houston. And all of them had very similar remarks about his workout regimen. And they said he gets at it. Like, he's a dog when it comes to his workouts, when it comes to him putting the work in to get better, to coming up with creative moves to try to get his shot off. Like they said, there's probably no one better in doing that. And so, I wanted to ask him, I'm like, okay, so when you were hearing this, James, when you were hearing people talking about your conditioning, weight gains and things of that nature and not being able to be an elite player because of that, I asked him what was going through your mind, like, and for your teammates to say something that's different, the complete opposite of that narrative. What does it mean for you to have them in your corner telling folks that, no, this is actually the James that gets down in the workouts, and that's why he's still playing at an elite level today?
Somebody like myself, I really don't, it don't bother me because you don't get to this point and this elite of a basketball and statistically and all this shit without putting the work in. It's not even you can't even think about getting this far without putting the work in or having a crazy work ethic. So that part doesn't bother me because I'm the one that's putting the work in. But it bothers the people that are around me that hears and listens to the negative comments and things like that, which they should be. They should be bothered because they see what the hell is going on. They see how hard I work and 16 years still being able, all-star, all NBA team, they should feel the way. So I think, or sooner than later, people start understanding and recognize how hard I actually did work and what I was able to accomplish, throughout my career. So for now, just let them keep talking and hopefully they can change the narrative, sooner or later.
I definitely think James has definitely changed the narrative this season. Returned to All-Star form, made the All-Star team this year. So James, Clippers, they feel like they can do some serious damage in the playoffs. And now lastly and finally, All-NBA. Does James Harden belong? Does James Harden have a case for All-NBA? 3 All-NBA teams. James Harden, again, the leader of this team. A guy who's been there through thick and thin. Again, only missed 3 games this season. So I had to ask him. I had to ask him about that. Now, there's a lot of guys who don't like campaigning for themselves. James is one as well. But, I had to, I'm like, James, come on, man. Give me something. Give me something. Make a case. Give me something. So he reluctantly gave in. This is what he had to say about potentially being an all-NBA performer.
I'm not campaigning nothing. Campaign nothing. I mean, the numbers is really good. The team is really good. I think a lot of, from the beginning of the season, they counted out 13, 14 seed in the West. And, right now we 5th, you know what I mean? And I only missed 3 games this whole year. So, I ain't gonna keep talking. I'm not I ain't gonna keep campaigning for myself, but the numbers is there and the record is there. So,
that's all I need.
Easy.
Appreciate it, brother. Best of luck in the playoffs. All right, that will conclude my conversation with James Harden. I want to thank him for giving me the time after that game Friday night, the win over the Sacramento Kings, which he had a triple-double. James Harden's been playing phenomenal all season long, so I definitely appreciate that, brother, for giving me some time after the game to be able to do this interview here for our Haynes Briefs audience. So with that being said, that's going to conclude this episode, and I got some more interviews lined up, some more NBA star players lined up. So you definitely, again, subscribe, comment, share. Please tell people, this thing, I'm going to get this thing popping. And so with that being said, everybody enjoy your weekend, and it's almost playoff time. Take care.